All right, now let's start with some related verbs here. So we're going to use the brackets to rephrase the sentences, okay? So let's do together exercise 4. Take a look at it. Okay, here it is. Okay, so number 1, I just know it will rain. It will rain at the weekend, bound. So I can say it just bound to rain at the weekend. Number 2, he gave up smoking after 3 attempts. We have manage and succeed in. So I can say he managed to give up smoking after 3 attempts, or he succeeded in giving up smoking after 3 attempts. Then number 3, can you tell me which twin is which? So you can say, are you able to tell which twin is which? Number 4, my parents say I can't have a puppy. So it can be my parents say I'm not allowed to have a puppy, or my parents say they won't let me have a puppy. Number 5, you should take it back and complain. So I can say, if I were you, I'd take it back and complain, or you had better take it back and complain. Number 6, I should wear a suit for work, but I often don't. So I can say I'm supposed to wear a suit for work, but I often don't. Number 7, you mustn't tell anyone about it. So you can say you had better not tell anyone about it. And the last one, he wouldn't put out his cigarette. You can say he refused to put out his cigarette. That's very good. So now we're going to read the sentences 1 to 10 and underline the modal verbs here. Okay. So let's start. Number 1, I can. Yep, it's I can. May I make a suggestion, right? You can smoke, you shouldn't wear, you must obtain, you should, you'll pass, right? That's very good that you could notice this one. And then we have you mustn't, couldn't, and won't. Perfect, that's a pretty easy. This unit is really easy, right? Okay, now we're going to match the expressions A to J with the models, okay? So let's listen and to help us get the right answers right away. So let's do it together. Let me play the audio.
Tape script 7.4. 1.
I'll be able to take you to the airport after all.
2.
Is it okay if I make a suggestion?
3.
You're allowed to smoke in the designated area only.
4.
If I were you, I wouldn't wear red. It doesn't suit you.
5.
You are required to obtain a visa to work in Australia.
6.
It's always a good idea to make an appointment.
7.
You're bound to pass, don't worry.
8.
You aren't permitted to walk on the grass.
9.
I didn't manage to get through. The line was engaged.
10.
I refuse to discuss the matter any further.
All right, so let's say the rephrase sentences one by one. So number 1, I'll be able to take you to the airport after all. Number 2, it's okay if I make, or you can say, is it okay? Is it okay if I make a suggestion? Number 3, you're allowed to smoke in the designated area only. Number 4, if I were you, I wouldn't wear red. It doesn't suit you. That's very bad to say that to someone. Number 5, you're required to obtain a visa to work in Australia. And number 6, it's always a good idea to make an appointment. Number 7, you're bound to pass, don't worry. And number 8, you aren't permitted to walk on the grass. Number 9, I didn't manage to get through, the line was engaged. And number 10, I refuse to discuss the matter any further. Okay, so let's try to move to the second part of the page. Okay, so we have this one side of a telephone conversation between Isabel and Rick. And Isabel is excited. We need to know why she's excited, where is she going, and who with. All right, so you can take a look at this conversation here. Okay. So let's read and listen at the same time.
Tape script 7.5.
Hello? Isabel, hi. Why all the excitement? Yes, I can. I remember you doing it in the coffee bar. It was the one in the Daily Sun, wasn't it? Didn't you have to name loads of capital cities? Never. Believe it. What's the prize? You must be kidding. That's brilliant. For how long? Well, you should be able to do quite a lot in 3 days. And the Ritz-Carlton? I'm impressed. Doesn't that overlook Central Park? I thought so. Not that I've been there, of course. What do you mean? How would I ever be able to? You can't be serious. You know I'd love to, but why me? Well, surely you should be taking David. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know. When did this happen? Well, what can I say? How can I possibly refuse an offer like that? I certainly will.
All right, so let's solve it together. So Isabel is excited because she has won a competition and she's going to stay at the Ritz, which overlooks Central Park in New York, and she's going with Rick. Now let's try to listen to the whole conversation and try to make sure, you know, if you can take notes of what Isabel says in the conversation. So you got the conversation, and let's listen together.
Tape script 7.6. Exciting news.
Hello?
Rick? Rick, is that you? I've got to talk to you.
Isabel, hi. Why all the excitement?
Well, can you remember that competition I entered, just for a laugh, a few weeks ago?
Yes, I can. I remember you doing it in the coffee bar. It was the one in the Daily Sun, wasn't it? Didn't you have to name loads of capital cities?
Yeah, that's it. You've got it. Well, get this. I've won! I came first.
Never. I don't believe it. What's the prize?
A trip to New York.
You must be kidding. That's brilliant. For how long?
Just 3 days. But it's 3 days in the Ritz-Carlton, of all places.
Well, you should be able to do quite a lot in 3 days. And the Ritz-Carlton? I'm impressed. Doesn't that overlook Central Park?
Yes, it does.
I thought so. Not that I've been there, of course.
Well, you can now.
What do you mean? How would I ever be able to?
Well, it's a trip for 2, and I'd really love it if you would come with me. Will you?
You can't be serious. You know I'd love to, but why me? Well, surely you should be taking David.
Haven't you heard? David and I have split up.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know. When did this happen?
Well, a couple of weeks ago. We haven't been getting on well for ages.
Well, what can I say? How can I possibly refuse an offer like that?
You'll come then?
I certainly will.
All right, so I hope you got the parts of the conversation that Isabel said, okay? And let me tell you about one of the good things that you will find in that book is that you can find the script of the audios by the end of the book. I know it's good to discover this by now, right? So I hope you enjoy the script by the end of the book, but just make sure that you try to listen to each audio as many times as you can before looking at the script, because we want to practice listening, not just reading, right? Now let's move to the next part. Okay, so this one is really interesting. It's about weddings. So tell me, have you attended a wedding before that you really loved? Or which picture of these weddings you like the most or you find interesting? You wish to know the story behind them. So we got different weddings here, okay? And let me ask you something else. What do you think the good reasons behind getting married, and what are the bad reasons? Are there any bad reasons? It would be great if you write me under the video. So we got here this girl, Pratima, who had an arranged marriage, and I want you to tell me, what would you like to know about her marriage? Like, how old was she? How did she get married? Who arranged her marriage? So we're going to listen about her marriage, and we're going to answer these questions about her.
Tape script 7.7. An arranged marriage.
How old were you when you met your husband, Pratima?
I was just 16.
Were you still at school?
No, I'd left school, but I was having private tuition at home to prepare me for some exams.
And your father arranged your marriage, is that right?
That's right.
Could you tell me how he did that?
Well, he looked around for a suitable husband. He asked friends and relatives if they knew anyone and found out about their education, their background, and most importantly, the family's background. He managed to get a lot of information about them, you know.
And how long did this take?
Not too long in my case, but you know, sometimes a father can see up to 100 men before he chooses one. For my sister and my elder sister, he saw over 100 men before...
He saw how many? Goodness, it must take up a lot of time.
Yes, it can be difficult to decide, but for me he saw only 2. One in the morning and one in the afternoon, and he chose the second one.
What a day. Can you tell me about it?
Yes, well, in the morning, the first man was very wealthy. And he was well-dressed and had good manners, but he hadn't had a good education.
Ah, and the other one?
Well, he wasn't terribly wealthy, but he was well-educated, and he came from a good background. His family owned a village and were like princes. He was 22 and studying law.
And this one your father chose?
That's right. I think he thought money wasn't everything. For my father, education was more important. And anyway, if a man is well educated, he will earn in the end. Actually, Shyam, that's my husband's name, Shyam didn't want to get married at all, but his father had told him he must. So when he came to my house to meet my father, he was very badly dressed because he hoped my father would refuse him. But luckily for me, my father did like him. And he had to say yes.
He had to?
Oh, yes. He had promised his father.
And what about you? Did you meet both men?
Yes, I met them that day. First, my family spoke to them, and then they called me in. And we spoke for 4 or 5 minutes.
And did you prefer the second?
Well, actually, I wasn't sure. I left it to my father.
Well, you must trust him a lot.
Oh, yes.
So what happened next?
Well, after a while, there was a special day when I went to meet his family, and his family came to meet mine. It was a kind of an engagement party. But we, you know, Shyam and me, we used to be on the phone every day, and we'd meet regularly, but always we had to have a chaperone. And after 10 months, we got married.
And how long have you been married?
Nearly 25 years now.
And it's been a successful marriage? Your father made a good choice?
Oh, yes, of course. And we have 2 beautiful sons. They're 22 and 17 now.
And will you arrange their marriages?
Oh, yes. My husband is planning them now. He's been asking families for some time already and...
And your sons want it?
Well, Krishna, he's the eldest. He's okay about it. He's studying hard and hasn't got the time to meet girls, but...
Yes, what about the youngest? Ravi, isn't it?
Yes, well, actually Ravi's not so keen. It might be difficult to persuade...
But you still believe that the system of arranged marriages is a good one?
Oh, yes, I do. Of course I do. But, it depends on a lot, especially on the family choosing the right person. But one main reason I think it does work is that the couple enter the marriage not expecting too much, if you see what I mean. Actually, there are many more divorces between couples who thought they were marrying for love. My mother, she had to marry at 13, but she's still happily married nearly 50 years later. Of course, nowadays 13 is considered too young, but times change.
Yeah, that's very true. Thank you very much indeed, Pratima.
That was a lovely discussion, right? Pratima was really interesting. So let's answer the questions one by one. So the first one, how did Pratima's father find the two men? So he asked his friends and relatives if they knew anyone suitable. Number two, what did he want to know about them? He wanted to know about their education background, their family's background. And number three, what were the similarities and differences between the two men? So both of them were very wealthy. The first man was very wealthy and well-dressed and had good manners, but not a good education. The second one was not wealthy and he was badly dressed, but he was well-educated and he comes from a very good background. Number four, why did her father choose Shyam and not the first man? Because he thought that education is more important than money. He can earn money later on from this education. And number five, why did Shyam dress badly? Because he was hoping that her father would reject him, because he didn't want to get married. And number six, what happened between the time of the interview and the wedding? So there was a special day when they met each other's families and they phoned every day, and they met regularly with a chaperone. A chaperone is someone who attends in social events with young people to make sure that they behave in a correct way, especially in the past or in some cultures. And number seven, how do you know about or that Pratima believes in arranged marriages? Because she trusted her father, and she's saying that the good thing about it is that people are not expecting too much from each other. So she's happy that she's going to plan for her sons to have arranged marriages too. So let me ask you something. Do you think there is anything unusual about these questions here? Yes, these are statements, but they are said in rising intonations at the end. So this is like a type of question when you want to make sure that you understand the speaker correctly, or that you want to express surprise or even shock. So we got here these sentences. So I want you to listen and to try to practice them.
Tape script 7.8. 1.
Your friends went to Alaska on holiday. They went where?
2.
You got home at 5 this morning. You got home when?
3.
You paid €300 for a pair of jeans. You paid how much?
4.
You met the president while you were out shopping. You met who?
5.
He invited you to the palace for a drink. He did what?
So number one, they went where? Number two, you got home when? Number three, you paid how much? And number four, you met who? And the last one, number 5, he did what? So you can listen to it one more time and then repeat them. And now get ready for the 5th page of our unit.